All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to Ignite 2.0, Skills to Spark a Great Career. And this is session number 4 of the Spark sessions. And we're going to be going over the database in your business. Now, for those of you that don't know me, or for those of you that might be catching this on the replay, my name is Brett Matsura. I'm the CEO of Keller Williams Realty in Irvine. I've been in the real estate industry in my 23rd year now, sold a lot of homes in that time. And a lot of the stuff that we're going over, the reason why I'm training this is because these are the fundamental things that you need to do in order to grow a fantastic real estate business. Fix the lighting on this a little bit. So as we kind of go through this, people are going to be adding into this, but first and foremost, if you guys go into the chat screen, I've already uploaded the student guide that you guys can kind of download and resource. It's pretty thin. I'm going to mostly be going off the slide deck, but there is some information that you'll probably want to take that, download it, save it on your desktop, and just use it as a reference. There are some places to take notes. So if you have something to write with, probably don't necessarily need to print this out as much as just maybe have a Word document over and type down some notes, or just have a pen and piece of paper like me that I'll probably never look at again. So I keep everything on my phone, and if it goes on paper and I don't turn it into a digital, then it's like not even doing it. Anyways, let's kind of go forward into it. So the goal for Spark is for real estate agents, whether you're new to the business or existing into the business, is within the first couple of weeks is to generate an appointment for a listing presentation, and within that first 30 days to actually get a contract signed, a listing contract signed. That's the objective for Ignite. That's the objective for Spark. It's really the objective in everything that we do. Now, if you guys have watched this before, I've shared with you guys the secret of real estate. And the secret of real estate is that there is no secret to real estate. Every, success leaves clues, and real estate's no exception. And what we know is that there are two main activities for successful real estate agents. Now, that none of this is theory. All of this has been proven time and time again over time. And there are two main categories for this. Now, number one is grow your business, and number two is run your business. Now, we are in a sales industry. Make no mistake about it. You can live a very great life, have a lot of freedom, a lot of abundance, a lot of happiness in this industry. But make no mistake that this is a sales industry. Anything that your compensation is tied directly to a sale of something means that you're in a sales industry. And so therefore you have to treat it as a sales industry. And my belief, and a lot of other people's belief in successful real estate agents, is that 80% of your time needs to be focused on grow your business, and 20% of time is running your business or supporting your business. Now, growing your business is only broken down into 4 different activities. Number one, we lead generate for buyers and sellers, right? Those are the people who are actually going to be selling houses to or selling houses for. So we want to spend most of our time lead generating. Number 2 is make seller listing presentation and take the listings. Okay, we're not in the business just to make presentations, right? That's not going to help us at all. We want to make sure that we're making seller listing presentations and actually taking the listings. Number 3, we're making buyer presentations. And if we're going to make buyer presentations, we're going to want to take a buyer, get a buyer agreement signed. Now, I always called the buyer presentation a buyer orientation. And the reason why I would always call it a buyer orientation is because my goal when I was working with a buyer was to make sure that they understood the fundamentals, the step-by-step process of buying a home and what they can expect by having me as their real estate agent represent them. And then number 4 is preview real estate, meaning previewing property. 20 some odd years ago when I first got into the business, this is something that you just had to do. There was, this was the beginning of just the MLS. There wasn't the Zillows, there wasn't the realtor.coms that you could just really sit down in front of your computer and then act like you're previewing property. There is an art to actually previewing property, and there is something to be said by seeing things live and in person. Now, I want you to think about this. If everybody could just preview property just by looking online, then why do you have to take your clients out there to actually see it in person if they've seen it online? Because there's a lot of information, there's a lot of nuances that you cannot capture simply by looking at it online. And last time I checked, only the best photographs get put onto the web, onto the MLS. Nobody's ever went through all the photographs that we're taking and choose the top 5 worst photographs to put on there. So by previewing the real estate, you're getting more intimate knowledge into the knowledge of what is on the market. And if we really think about it, what is it that buyers and seller want? They want an agent that actually is experienced, but they also have market knowledge. And why is market knowledge important? Well, because they're relying on the professional to help them, guide them through the process, explain the pitfalls, and knowing what's going on in the market, and knowing the inventory is one of those. Now, the 20% of your time is going to be running your business, and that's going to be marketing the listing, right? Once you have the presentation and once you take the listing, now you need to market it. You need to show buyers houses, negotiating contracts, transaction management, so managing the transaction to closing, managing the various different vendors in the transaction. I always say that a real estate agent's job is to work with a bunch of different people, have nothing but this whole chaotic thing, and make sure that everything hits within a single day. It takes a lot of talent. It takes a lot of understanding of the various different nuances and objectives, or not necessarily objectives, but it's knowing what the job is for each additional vendor. Not knowing enough just to do their job for them, but knowing enough to where you can actually manage the transaction and foresee any type of pitfalls. That's your job, to make sure everything hits on one day. You're setting goals. You're implementing compliance and risk management activities. Now, we are in Southern California, California being probably the most litigious state on planet Earth. So we want to make sure that anything that we're doing is complying with local ordinances. We're implementing various different strategies for risk management. We're attending trainings. We're getting coaching. Look, nobody has ever gotten good at anything without practice. There's nothing that you guys are going to do on a day-to-day basis that I haven't done. So to attend training and to get the coaching, there's absolutely no reason why you need to go about it on your own and reinvent the wheel. Because the wheel a wheel's going to be a wheel, whether you think that you reinvented it or somebody else actually invented it. So attending training and attending coaching, we're seeming to get some good response for these live trainings. So I appreciate that, because you guys are investing your time to take something out of this, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And then you're managing your money. Now, managing your money is, as I look at it, is budgeting your money. You budget your money much different than you budget your personal finances. And if you're going to have a business that's worth owning, you're going to have a business that actually has a business budget, and you're not going to be commingling funds. Most real estate agents that I know commingle funds. They have, what's the saying that I think Jim Rohn used to say, is that they have more month left than the money at the end of the month. So that means that they're going to commingle the funds. But you need to manage your money. You need to manage it wisely. Real estate is one of those industries that isn't that expensive. It doesn't have to be, because the activities you choose to do, and if you follow what we talk about in this database, it's made to be very, very budget efficient and give you a very large return on your investment, which your investment isn't necessarily the dollars and cents. Your investment is mostly going to be your time. So what we're going to be focusing on today is lead generating for buyers and sellers, of course, because that's part of the 80%. Of that 80%, our major focus is going to be lead generating for buyers and sellers. But specifically, how do we manage our database? So as we go into this, the things that we're going to be talking about, and we're going to be spending about maybe 30 to 45 minutes in duration. It might be longer. I've been known to sit there and talk and see the time go by, but I have this little countdown timer right here. So I do my best to start on time and end on time. But what we're going to be going over on today is number one is what is a database? Why use a database? We're going to talk about developing your database. And then we're going to cover some ahas and daily success habits. Now, this is probably one of the shorter trainings in this series, but I also got to tell you, it's probably the most important. And I'll show you why as we kind of go forward. Now, this is meant to be instructional. This is meant for you guys to take information and actually be able to hold that on kind of how to. The other half of this is meant to, well, typically these are supposed to be 4 hours in duration because you have 1 hour of instruction and then 3 hours of practical application. Now I'm hoping and I'm relying on you guys to develop those daily habits, to time block certain time in your day so that you're actually doing the activities to actually generate the outcomes to actually have a database. Because just by taking this knowledge and not doing anything with it isn't going to lead you to your end goal. Remember, the end goal here is to generate an appointment within the next couple of weeks and have a listing within the next month. That's the goal. So moving on to the next slide, the big picture. Your database is your long game. Your database is your big picture. And it says here, a well-tended database produces leads. That's it. Pretty simple statement. A well-tended database produces leads. A powerful database managed by a powerful schedule produces a predictable flow of leads. So some of you have made me heard me say this before, is that everybody's going for a commission. Look, that's the why. Why do we do this? Why did we get into real estate? Why? The bottom line is that you did it to sell a property to get a commission. Now, what you choose to do with that commission goes deeper into your why, but I have yet to meet a real estate agent named Mother Teresa that sold houses and just did it completely for free. It put us all out of business. Well, probably not, because there's a lot of companies out there that actually do that, but you guys get the point. Now, a powerful database manager, but with that said, is a powerful database managed by a powerful schedule produces a predictable flow of leads. So if the goal is to have commissions, and in order to have a commission, you must first have a lead, then mathematically it says that if you want more commissions, you need to have more leads. Okay. And if you don't have a powerful database managed by a powerful schedule, then it kind of, the system breaks down. And then it says in the last one is, and from a predictable flow of leads, you can predict a predictable flow of business, kind of tying into what I just said. You want more commissions, you need more leads. Okay. But there's a gap here. Commissions over here, leads over here. We know that you're going to need more leads than you are commission. It would be fantastic if any of you went out and you just batted 1,000, right? You talk to every one person that you talk to, you turn them into a client, you sell them a house and you collect a commission. That would be awesome. And if you did that, then I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong. But in most cases, you're going to need to have an abundance of leads, and there's going to be a different ratio, right? You're going to have so many leads equals one commission check. So, but that gap period is going to be where your database comes in. So the database is a living record of your business relationships. Now that could be personal relationship. It's a record of the people that you know, right? So if you're ever, say like you're at a grocery store, this is how I always define how tight your database is or how good your database is. If you're in a grocery store, and you guys have probably had this, you guys probably ran into like an old high school friend, not me, I didn't go to high school here, but maybe college or whatnot. And you walk in and you give that nod, right? That you know each other. Hey, how you doing? Chances are they know who you are, you know who they are. That's someone in your database. Now, your database is also somebody that you might not know them, but they know you. You see, I often say that I'd rather be popular than good. Now, I'm a big fan of being both. I'd like to be good and popular, but in absence, if you had to choose one or the other, I'm going to be choosing, I'd rather be popular than good. In your career in real estate, depending on how long you guys have been in the real estate, or if you just started in the real estate, there are going to you're going to come across people that you often wonder, how is it that they operate? How did these people actually wake up and tie their shoes? And it's because of popularity and not necessarily good. But you want to be good too, and that's what we're talking here. But a database helps you nurture and manage those relationships. It helps you nurture and manage those relationships. So we talked about it. We have, we have fewer commissions than we do leads. Let's just say for illustrative purposes, we know that we have to make, I don't know, 200 contacts to one commission. Whoa, 200 contacts, it's really not that much. But we know that that's the breakdown, but we also know that from literally every salesperson says it. If you've never heard that people do business that know you, like you, and trust you, I mean, that's like one of those common sayings that you can't get away from. I agree with it 100%, but a database helps you nurture that. And the bigger your database gets, I don't know about you guys, but I can pull out my phone. I can maybe count 10, 15, 20 people who are in my phone, my closest friends. A database keeps track of that for you, so it helps you nurture and manage them. The other thing, like I said, it produces a predictable flow of business. Now, another thing that I've never heard say is that somebody wants an unpredictable flow of business. Nobody ever wants to have an unpredictable flow of business, but most real estate agents have a very unpredictable flow of business. It's because they wake up and they don't have a database and they don't have a plan. Well, we want to solve that. We want to make sure that you have a plan and that you have a database so that you can actually start building it and build a predictable flow of business. Now, when's the best time to get started? Well, it's the same thing that goes with when's the best time to plant a tree. You might have been in the business for 5, 10, 15, 20 years and never really spent time focusing on a database. You know what? That's spilled milk. You can't dwell on that. What you can do is start today and start moving forward, because that's how you're going to get your predictable flow of business. So those of you that are in my office, you guys know who our broker of record is. His name's Dale Chima, for those of you that aren't. Guy's been in business for like 35 years. He was one of the founders of this office. And the nice thing, that the thing I lovingly joke about, is that Dale, all he has to do is just wake up in the morning and he gets deals. But he didn't do that simply because of the fact that he's Dale. He did that because over time he built a database and he nurtured those relationships so people know that he's in the business, right? We all have our go-to people. You have your doctor, maybe an attorney, a dentist. All of us have our people that we go to. Your job and your objective is to be the real estate person for your people. So when they're looking to buy or sell real estate, they're coming to you. And more importantly, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is when they know of somebody who's looking to buy or sell real estate, they're going to give them your name willingly. And then number 4 is a database improves services and strengthens relationships. It keeps track of things. You keep track of, if you're doing a lot of transactions, a lot of times you're going to forget what's going on in each one if you're not keeping pretty good notes. Well, that goes into your database. You notate your database. So what is a database? So if you guys downloaded this, we're going to go to page 3. And we're just going to really kind of just scroll over it because I have some scribbles on mine. It's just a list. So I want you guys to answer these questions. I'll give you guys my opinion and such. Normally what we do is, if we were in a live setting, we would go through and would break some time up. But I know, because I do a lot of stuff online, that I have about 25, 30 minutes to keep hold of your attention before you guys start, doing what I do. And that's, looking at the phone, looking at the news, looking at my Twitter feed and all that good stuff. So what is a database? What is the purpose of your database? Well, the purpose of your database is to obtain repeat and referral business so you can increase your production and profitability on a year-over-year basis. That's my answer. Some people might say your purpose of your database is to keep track of your friends and family member. Can you send us a link? So Russell, it should be in above this message for the link. Let me link to it again. Sorry guys, Russell just asked me for the database because I uploaded it. So it's not a link as opposed to just being able to upload it. So let me just add that. Okay, so I'm downloading it or I'm uploading it. So you should be able to get it. Sorry guys. So the purpose of your database is, for me, it's very simple. Look, we're in real estate. We already established the fact that your goal is to get commissions. And so the purpose of your database, if your goal for getting into real estate is to get a commission, then having a database to help you, your end game is to get a commission. Now there's other purposes, right? The things that help you get to that point. But the number one, if you're going to write down one thing, at least from my point of view, is the purpose of your database is to help you get more commissions, help you do more business, help you be more profitable. Yes, it keeps track of everything and such, but the purpose is to get those more commissions. Number two, what makes a database valuable? Well, what makes a database valuable, again, as we establish this, is because it's made up of people who know you, like you, and trust you, your friends, your past clients, your sphere of influence. You know, Jim Rohn once said, I listened to a lot of Jim Rohn and a lot of legendary motivational speakers. He says, your friends are people that know everything about you and they still like you. How funny is that? But that is what your database is made up of, because you want people who know you, like you, and trust you. Because again, the job here, the goal here is to be that real estate professional for your people. And your database, what makes it valuable is that your database is made up of your people. Number three, what other industries use a database for prospecting and marketing? You know, this is kind of a leading question. I think a better question for this would be, what other industries don't use a database for prospecting and marketing? Because if you're selling something, if you're providing service, or if you're selling something, you're going to have a database. Now in 2020, more so than ever, as we continue to go into the future, the database data becomes more and more important to every walks of life. Look, we talked about this in a prior, God, I get messages that pop up. We talked about this in a prior Spark training. Is, you know, everything is in the cloud. Your database is in the cloud. The reason why we can go and do something on our desktop and then go to our mobile phone and then go to our iPad and then go on to your friends is because it has a shared database. And there is no other industry that I'm aware of that does not have a database. Now, there's a lot of real estate agents that I know of that have been in the business a long time. I talked to a guy not too long ago. I asked him what database. I said, do you use a database? He said, yes. And I said, been in the business like 35 years. I said, do you use a database? He goes, yeah. I said, do you work your database? He goes, you know, not that much. I said, okay, what database do you use? And he says, Excel spreadsheet. Guys, an Excel spreadsheet is not a database. An Excel spreadsheet is a spreadsheet. Now, if in fact you guys need help understanding the two differences on that, I'm not going to spend too much on it. Call me and let's walk through the process on the difference between a spreadsheet and a database. Number four, what makes target marketing effective? Right? What makes target marketing effective? And I'm going to share a story with you guys on this. And you see, probably about, probably about a year ago, my daughter, 9 years old, she asked me that she wanted to go to the playground, but she didn't want to go to any of the normal playgrounds. We've already, you know, we live in Irvine, and there's a playground literally on every corner. And she wanted to go to a different one. So what I did is I pulled out my phone and I Googled top Irvine playgrounds. Now, how does that tie into this? Target marketing is effective because your message to your database, the same message won't be won't resonate the same way with everyone in your database, right? For instance, my playground idea. Look, I have younger elementary school children. They have they want to go to playgrounds. If someone in your database is maybe an empty nester, they're not going to be interested in any message that I send that would cater to somebody within my position in life. So what makes target marketing so effective is that you're going to be able to segment your database on various different interests so that you can start providing content that is appealing to that segmented office. Now, here's the great thing. There are some common denominators. If somebody is looking to sell their home, they are interested in what's going on in their market. They're probably not interested in what's going on in the market in Texas. I saw a funny article. Anyways, I'll share that later. Anyways, they're probably not interested in what's going on in Texas or Oklahoma or New York. They are interested in what's going on, maybe not even necessarily as California, but maybe if they own a home in Irvine, if they're looking to sell, or if they own a home and maybe in the future want to sell, they're going to be interested in that information. So you could probably put together maybe a monthly newsletter, market specific, that you could send out to them. And the same thing for buyers. If somebody's looking to buy a home and say in the Irvine, it doesn't necessarily matter where they're at within their age or where they're at within their journey through life. If you provide property information or market information or neighborhood information, HOA, things like that, then these are all various different types of information that you can create and distribute to your database that makes it appealing. The worst thing ever is that you could send out an email to like 300 people and only 6 people open it. Now technology nowadays will let you know who opens it. And the thing is, when you actually use technology, if it starts seeing that you're sending out content that nobody wants to look at, they're going to start sending your stuff to the spam folder. So you always want to make sure that any type of content that you guys send out is relative and it's content that people want to read. Now, there are 3 levels to what's called the Millionaire Database. And the Millionaire Database is outlined in the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And if you turn to page number 4, you're going to have a notes section, and it's going to break down each one of these levels. Now, let me back up. The first level is the essential level. Okay, now essential means that this is the bare minimum that you need in order to add somebody to your database. It's the most simple. It is the bottom line, fundamental. It's the first level of starting to create your database. Now it's made up, number 1, the preferred name. Maybe you're working with somebody named, I don't know, Robert, but he goes by Bobby. Chances are, if you call him, you need to, if you want to build rapport, you're going to want to use his preferred name. So you got to have that. Number 2 is contact info. And contact info means to be like one source: email, phone number, address. You've got to have one source of information. There's no point in just putting a name in there. If that's the case, everybody would have 100 people in their database named John Smith and another 100 named Jane Smith, and you won't have anything else in there. So you want to make sure that you have at least one source of contact info. Number 3, you're going to have to notate your past business with them. Are they a past client? And or what is their past contact record? How did you meet them? What was the conversation you had with them? Where do they live? What's interested of them? Something that's going to jog your memory. But more importantly, if it doesn't jog your memory, it's one of those things that you can reference in a conversation. For instance, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, hey, the last time that I spoke to you, you said your daughter went off to college and that you wanted to wait however long before you'd consider selling it. That's huge. Those are the types of things that that matter. Has there ever been a time where you spoke with somebody and you recall the conversation and they're talking to you like they have no idea who you are? And if you really think of it, that's happened to me. And if it hasn't happened to you, think about what that would be like. You had this conversation, you shared some intimate details about who you are, and then the person talked to you and they're talking to you as if they've never talked to you before. It turns you off. So part of the database is you want to make sure that you notate all your conversations. And I do that to this day. The database that I use, I log conversations, especially in the sales cycle. At will communications. Now, this means that you have a valid and up-to-date method of contact for the person, meaning that at will, at any given time, you can come to your computer, you can go to your phone, you can jump in your car, and you can engage that source of communication. Now, I think this has probably happened to everybody, but has there ever been a time where you're like, I'm going to call my buddy, John Smith, and then John Smith's phone number is disconnected? You don't know how long it's been because you probably haven't talked to them for, several years. So those are the essentials to having a Millionaire database. That's level number one. Level number two is kind of tying in or adding in to or building upon the essentials. And that's number 5 is obtain permission. Just because you have somebody's contact information doesn't give it okay to reach out to them. And this is where the practice comes in. This is where engaging a cold or a warm client or a past client or someone in your sphere of influence is that you've got to obtain permission. I sometimes call it obtain not just permission, but obtain a commitment or whatnot. And so once you reach out to them and you're able to actually speak with them, you have to ask them if it's okay to communicate with them. Number 6 is collect personal information, insights, and preferences. And this is going to be tying into number 7 on segmenting and grouping. Because collecting personal information, this is going to allow you to engage. So maybe you segment your database with all past clients. Maybe, so that's one segment of your database. Now, if you're using a database, you can't do this if you're using an Excel spreadsheet. Well, you could. It's just, I used to. I did this years ago. You shouldn't have to do it now. There should be no reason why anyone has a database. For those of you that are with Keller Williams, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't use a database because we have Command. But even if you're an active member of the MLS here in Southern California, they provide you with a free CRM. There's a lot of free different options out there. Now, free isn't all that great, but it's better than an Excel spreadsheet and allows you to segment, and tags allow you to segment. So you can have your past clients. You can, have people whose favorite holiday is Valentine's Day. You can have, people whose favorite color is blue. So you can segment all those. And then if you want to send something, maybe you want to send a blue email out to everybody. I don't know. But the point is that it allows you to segment your group to be most effective. Most effectively, it's going to be broken down into past clients, sphere of influence. Maybe if you know a lot of doctors, you want to segment people that are doctors if you have a listing around a hospital. So there's a variety of different things that you can do with that. And number 8, the information that you send is purposeful and consistent communication. Now we need to really break that down. Purposeful and consistent communication. We're going to do this in reverse. So consistent communication. Nothing works unless you're consistent. If you do something on Tuesday and that's all you ever do, don't do it because it's not going to really do anything. Purposeful. What is the purpose of the communication? Now, if any of you have gone in any of my role-playing training, my universal opening is number 1, identify who you are. And then number 2 is say, hey, the reason I'm calling is the purpose of your call. And be honest and sincere, because all of us get nailed by marketing messages on the day in and day out. And we all have an inherent built-in BS meter that if somebody, you can tell how people are beating around the bush, based on your conversation with them. So be genuine, be sincere, be purposeful, and be consistent. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Number 3 is automated custom communication built around triggers. Automated custom communication built around triggers. If in fact we believe this to be true, and I hope that you guys all believe this to be true, is that everybody's goal of a database, everybody's goal for getting into real estate is to generate a real estate commission, is to sell a house and earn a commission. Okay, that's the goal. And we also agree that before you can ever get a commission, you must first have a lead. And so we also know that the more leads that you have, the better chances you have of actually getting more commissions. But in the middle of that, look, if all you do is have one lead, you can take care of that without a database. 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 leads, okay, you can still do that without a database. But once you start adding these various different people and having these communications, it's going to be literally impossible for you to maintain consistent and purposeful communication without some sort of technology. Now, we live in the year 2020. Hopefully, 2020 is almost gone, so the future's coming close. And if you're not using technology to help you utilize and move forward, then you're really missing the boat here. Because your database should not just house the names of people that know you, like you, and trust you, and your people. Your database should have some sort of automation. You should be able to have a different campaign. You should have a 12-month holiday campaign. So whereas every holiday, there's a holiday in every single month except August. So you should have a holiday campaign that you shouldn't have to go through your database and send an individual email out to everybody. It automatically does it when you launch it. Everybody has a birthday. Work to try to get everybody's birthday so that every single time their birthday comes up, you can either A, have it trigger a birthday email to go out, customized, import your name, but B, it could also just serve to you as a reminder that to make a phone call or to send a handwritten birthday card. Okay, those are the little nuances that you would not be able to manage. You can manage it if you have a really small database. But I suppose you can manage it if you have a really big database. It's just going to take up a lot of your time, right? You're going to wake up and you're winging your day, and all of a sudden the day's gone, and then you're going to put what you wanted to do today onto the next day. So these are the 3 levels of the millionaire database. Number 1, essential. 2, effective. 3, exceptional. And it's not hard to get to exceptional. It takes time. It takes consistency. But it's not hard to get to exceptional. If you have the names, if you work your database and you use automation, you are now doing probably more than 90%, in my experience, 90% of those who are competing with us. Moving on. So why use a database, right? We've talked about the 3 levels of the millionaire database. Now we're going to explore why using a database is key to running a successful business. And we're going to break it down into really 2 reasons. Number 1 is to avoid the today trap. And number 2 is to create a predictable ROI. Now, there are 2 types, like I said, that there are 2 types of business. There's today business and there's tomorrow business. And without a database, the only thing you're focusing on is today business. And that's winging it. This is what I referred to when I talked about winging it. Now, a little bit of a backstory here. The National Association of Realtors says that people move every 10 years. In Southern California, it's probably more like 14, but let's just go with what the National Association of Realtors is. 10 years. Now, if you're only focusing on people doing business today, then you're only focusing on 10% of the business that can actually be done. Now, with 10 years in between transactions, for agents who don't leverage systems to stay on top of mind of their database, what they end up experiencing is their clients are going to be using a different agent. And that stings. That's happened to me before. right? People who you know, like, and trust, people, you know, your people. And I didn't stay in front of them. And so they used somebody else because, especially with a decrease in listing units, as we're starting to see this shift, there's a lot of people who are going after your clientele. You have a head start, stay out in front of them. If we look into this next slide. So here's the example of the 100 people in your market. This is 100 silhouettes. Now, out of the 100, 65 of them are looking to be homeowners and 35 aren't. 65, 35. Out of the 65, 58 of those people, they're off the market. Now, the remaining people are 7. Okay, 7, the 7 represents your today business. Now, if an agent is working without a database, they're only focused on today's business, then they're only focused on finding what's referred to as the orphan of these 7 people, or 7 people who don't have an agent. So you have a 1 in 7 shot statistically and mathematically to find someone who just randomly doesn't have it. Now, here's the interesting thing with that one person. There might be a reason why that one person isn't working with an agent. We know that right now there's almost a 25% reduction of listings on the market, and that's fluctuating. I mean, it swings depending on the day of the month and what month that we're in. But let's just say 25%. And there's only a 2-month supply in the market. The average days on market right now, as I record this in my market, is 11 days. Orange County, 11 days. That's how fast things are selling. So what's happening is we're seeing a lot of buyers who are trying to circumvent and want to go around a buyer's agent and work directly with the listing agent. Now, why would they want to do that? Well, what they perceive is that if they work directly with a listing agent, then they have a better chance of actually getting their offer being accepted. And if we're being honest with ourselves, that's true. Let's be honest with ourselves. You may not like it. If you're working with a lot of buyers, you may not like it, but you know, the truth is the truth. You know, don't shoot the messenger. So we don't want to work with that. We don't want to set up a business to whereas we don't know what's happening. That, you know, we're back in the caveman area where if you don't hunt and kill something, you don't eat for a week. We don't want to do that. So according to NAR, people move every 10 years. So if you're only focusing on the people doing business today, again, then only 10% of the business, you're only focusing on 10% of the business. That's it. 10 years, 100 people, you're only focusing on 10% of the business that's actually being done. And if agents consider that, if you look at all of your contacts as potential clients, you know, all the contacts in your database as potential clients, either directly through one-on-one business or through repeat and referral, that's your tomorrow business. And what you're doing is you're automatically have a bigger market. And taking control of your database and having consistent approach to your contacts and your database is how you build your long game. That's the big picture. Now, this section on this, let's talk about this. The average return on investment is 10 to 1 to 14 to 1. Now, what does that mean? That means that for every dollar you spend on the activities in your database, you get a $10 to $14 return. Some real estate agents have as high as a $40 return, a 40 to 1 ratio, right? They're really, really working their database. They're really working it. But I mean, who here would have a problem every time you invest $1 of money, you get a $10 to $14 return? I mean, if you went to Vegas and did that, you'd never leave the slot machine. They'd be closed, and they wouldn't be closed because of COVID. They'd be closed because if you literally just put $1 in and got 10 out, $1 in, 10 out, $1 in, 10 out, it's self-fulfilling. You'd do that all day long. You'd never run out of money. If you got to the point where you're operating your database where you put $1 in, you get 10 out, why would you never just keep on throwing dollars in? Because you keep on getting it out, right? With each customer, there's going to be three costs. So we talk about dollar in, $10 out. But what are those activities? Well, number one, there's a cost to generating the lead, whether it be time or money, there's a cost to it. Number two, there's a cost to converting that lead into a customer. Again, it doesn't matter if it's, your time does have a dollar value associated to it. Some of us have more time than we do dollars. Some of us have more dollars than we do time. It just depends on where you're at within your business, within your life. But there's a cost to converting that lead into a customer. And there's also a cost in converting a customer into a referral, right? Those are the three areas that we want to really focus on. And to take advantage of these three, you have to look at this, those three areas. Lowest lead cost. Okay, when we talk about using a database, or why using a database, it does provide you with the lowest cost of lead. I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who it was. It's in my notes, it's in my database. But they told me that they wanted to grow their business, and their plan to grow their business was just to pay like $1,000 to Zillow each and every month. $1,000 to Zillow each and every month. Now I did that probably, it was when I first moved to California. Zillow was not nearly as expensive as it is now because there's a lot more demand for it now, right? It's supply and demand. But it was like $1,000 a month that they said that they were paying, and they didn't really have a database. So they're going to generate all these leads, but they don't know anywhere to come to it. Now, not all of the leads that come in off of these various different buyer lead platforms are going to be all that great, but some of them are. And if you don't have a database, then you're going to do it. But if you're spending $1,000 a month to get, I don't know, maybe 100 leads a month, that's a significant cost of lead generation. And if you're working on your database, this database with people who know you, like you, trust you, then that is the cheapest customer acquisition strategy that you can possibly have, is working your database. Again, $1 in, $10 to $14 out. It also has the lowest conversion cost. See, these guys, again, your friends are the people who already know you, or excuse me, your friends are people who know you and they still like you, right? But lowest cost of conversion, because they know you, like you, trust you, then it's going to be a lower cost to convert if you stay top of mind, if you stay in front of them, if you consistently be in front of them. In fact, this says when properly built and maintained, a database will actually end up producing its own leads in the form of repeat clients and referrals, and it will also have the lowest conversion cost. Now, if you're always consistently staying in front of people, and that person ends up coming across somebody that that knows somebody that wants to buy or sell, or that they get to the point where they want to buy or sell a home because they already have that relationship with you, then as long as you're just, continuing to manage your database, good chance that you're going to get that call, right? And get that business. Number three, it pays for itself. A database makes it easier to do consistent follow-up. And when you're good at consistent follow-up, the resulting leads will end up paying for themselves. So we already talked about this in the last slide. If you put $1 in, and at the minimum you're getting $10 out, that lead paid for itself. Because really you got $9 left over. Now, if you're really, really working it, and you're really working a really, really good database, and let's say that you're one of those heavy hitters that are getting $39, $40 ROI on $1 of investment, man, keep throwing those dollar bills. Keep throwing those in there, because the database, again, pays for itself. If you spend $1 and you make 40, it's paid for itself. Okay, so that's it for why the database. The next topic we're going to talk about is developing your database and how we're going to feed it consistently. We're going to segment it into groups like we've talked about. We want to engage with it with certain types of touch campaigns. We'll go over that in a second if you don't know what that is. And you have to tend to it, right? You have to tend to your flock, so to speak. All right, guys, there are two ways to feed your database. This is it. It comes down to these two main subjects. You have marketing and you have prospecting. Now, if you've been on my prior one, I think it was just the last one I did. Prospecting is hunting. It's going out and finding business. Marketing is like trapping. It's attracting business. Now, here's really the breakdown of it. Marketing is money intensive. Because here's the thing. You don't want to just purchase some sort of marketing or deploy some sort of marketing campaign that goes out once on Wednesday. If it goes out once on Wednesday, it's not going to have any effect. It's got to be a 12-month gig. If you're going to go into marketing, you're going to put together a campaign like you're going after a geographic area or geographic farm, or maybe just kind of a niche, you need to commit to a 12-month plan. You need to find out what that cost is, what that time is. You need to reverse engineer that and find out what exactly your monthly nut's going to be on that. But it's money intensive. It's passive. It's a passive source of contacting people, very non-threatening, which is why a lot of real estate agents actually want to do it. You know, ironically, in my experience in my 23 years of real estate, me included, my first profession was not being a real estate agent. Typically being in real estate is a fallback career. It's somehow we got into it. Rarely have you go to a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old or a child and you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I have yet to, my son says he wants to be an astronaut. My daughter says she wants to be a doctor. Neither one of them, even though I'm in real estate, want to be in real estate. But they want to do that because they don't come from a sales background going to passive. Now, if you're a person who came from a sales background, you want to get into real estate because you have a higher return on investment, right? It's a big commission based on what you want to sell. But typically, people are gravitated to the marketing side of things because it's passive. It's easy. And don't make me saying that it's passive and easy and that a lot of people don't want to do it. Don't confuse that with me saying it's not possible, because I think that you need to have a marketing component, both traditional and digital. It takes time, it takes money, it's passive, and it takes time to get results. You got to be in it for the long game. Don't think that just because you're going to send out one postcard that you're going to get people lining up at your door to get you to sell their house. It doesn't work that way. You know, there's a strategy to it. But now when you go into prospecting, right? Prospecting is time intensive. Marketing is money intensive, time intensive. Why is prospecting time intensive? Well, because we're operating on a analog channel. You see, you can only go after one person at a time. You can't go and hunt 20 deer at the same time if you're going hunting, right? You go after one at a time. So it takes a lot of time, typically 2-3 hours a day. 2-3 hours a day, keep the, it just reminded me of a saying, 2 to 3 hours of prospecting a day keeps the bill collectors away. It's proactive, okay? Whereas marketing is passive, marketing is passive, prospecting is proactive, meaning that you're actually engaging. You're getting up, you're getting out of bed, and by God, your objective that day is to go find business. Knocking on doors, making telephone calls. And it's not just knocking on doors and making telephone calls. You know, that's the traditional source of prospecting. Prospecting are activities that you directly go and engage in to go and find business. And I'll tell you what the nice thing is. Prospecting gets you immediate results. Prospecting gets you immediate results. Let's say that you're focused on finding sellers. And what I commonly say is that there's 2 criteria to actually finding a seller. If you're going to go prospect, you got to find people who own homes. We can get that from the title company. And we want people who are within our market area. I always define your market area as within a 3 to 5 mile radius of where you live. Unless you want to drive an hour to go and sell a house, I wouldn't do it. There's enough business in Southern California, probably where you're at, just in your own backyard. You don't need to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't want to scale and do different areas, but you should start with where you live. But prospecting, if you have a list of people who own a home in your area, the only thing we need to know is, do they want to sell it? And the quickest way of finding out on whether or not they want to sell it is not by sending them a postcard. It is not to send them a message via carrier pigeon. It's not building a fire and sending out a smoke signal. It is simply going out one way or the other. You can call them if you can get their phone number. You could go and knock on their door. You could text message them. There's a lot of different activities that you can do to generate you a result. Now, you also have to do things in good taste. So you don't want to just text everybody massively. Prospecting is a very, very intimate activity. And it's not one of those things that you want to do on a massive basis unless you just want to identify certain different people. The second part of this, so we want to feed it consistently, feed your database consistently. And this is the two activities. But then, as we've talked about in the past, you want to segment it into groups. So you segment into groups, and this is somewhere where your spreadsheet isn't going to work. You're going to segment it in group by using tags. Now I've never come across a database, a CRM that doesn't have the ability to do tags. But the way that you segment it is by using tags. And for instance, business relationship. Might want to tag it of haven't met. So someone who hasn't done any business with you yet. You might want to tag them as active clients, people who you're working with correctively, or not correctively, but right now. And so that you can click a button, you can see all the people that you're working with. Past clients, you want to be able to click another filter and list all the people that you've worked with in the past. Now, guys, this doesn't necessarily have to be in real estate. This could be in anything. Maybe you're in the financial point of view. Maybe you're in a parallel industry that you've done business for. Well, that clientele comes into this clientele. There's nothing wrong with providing a different parallel service that you can continue to provide service and provide value to your clientele over time. We already know that you're not going to be selling them a house for at least 10 years after they buy another one, unless they're going to be an investor. But if you offer other services or whatnot, then there's nothing wrong with that ancillary business. I do know an agent that has a really good book of business. It's like she's a little mogul. She has, makes $500,000 a year in selling real estate, has a really big book of business when it comes to insurance. I believe it's, all walks of shows, an insurance agent, and also believe that she owns a store. So there's a lot of different things that she's going to be able to utilize and provide services. But the key here is people got to know you, like you, and trust you. Past clients, I already said that. Someone who's referred business. Maybe you want to identify somebody that has been known to actually send you business, so you can put them on a special card. VIP, someone who has sent you a lot of repeat and referral business. You can also break them up via tags like hobbies and interests. So I had this idea long ago because I was always very big into the martial arts, and typically people who actually spend money to go up and train in martial arts, they also have been known to buy houses. So in my database, if they had an interest in martial arts, then I would tag that. It gives them the ability to build rapport with them. Property type could be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, could be a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. It could be, a ranch style home. It could be a 2-story style home. You can segment that way. Whether they're an investor or not, whether they're a vendor. I actually have this in my office database. I have people logged as real estate agents, active real estate agents, inactive real estate agents, preferred vendors, so that I can just do that. You can't do that with a spreadsheet. Well, that's not true. You can do it with a spreadsheet, but it's more than a click of a button. It's sorting and such. And it doesn't, spreadsheets don't do automation. So that's number 2, right? Segment it into groups. Number 3, engage in a touch plan. So here's the thing, what I talked about when it came to the real estate, when it comes to your database, when it comes to your Excel spreadsheet. Again, I don't want to be a broken record, but if you want more commissions, you need to have more leads. And if you want to have a bigger database, you want to have a bigger database. So we know that on average, whatever the size of your database is, if you properly work it, you should get 6% in direct business or referral business on an annualized basis. So if you have a database of 100 solid people, not just people that you just randomly meet and you're just spamming, right? These are like legit people that we've walked through it, and you've gone through those 3 levels of the Millionaire Database, if these are 100 people who you made to level 3, we know that you'll convert 6% in direct or repeat and referral business. Now, if it's a lead, okay, it's broken down into 2 different programs. Now, you can have more programs. This is just something that we're just outlining for you guys to give you guys a structure to start with something. Again, you don't have to recreate the wheel. This is something that has been developed over time, and it's been working, and people to this day are making, doing a ton of business just by that. If you only did these 2 programs, you don't have to build something from NASA. These 2 programs will work. Just make it your own. Just modify it to be your own. If it's a lead is people who you have the right to at least have a one-way conversation with. A lead is somebody that you might have a one-way conversation with. If you don't have a right to have a one-way conversation with them, they're a prospect. A prospect is if you have a list of people who own real estate in your area, but you don't have a permission, you're cold calling them, then that is not a lead, that is a prospect. Okay? Don't put together a 19 touch campaign for those people. Now, a lead is somebody through your prospecting efforts, you get somebody who raises their hand, says, yes, I'm interested. Yes, you may send something to me. Maybe you put out a piece of marketing. Could be traditional, it could be digital, but they opted into receiving your stuff. They opted into being okay that you can have at least a one-way conversation, that you can send them your newsletter, that you can send them property information or area information. You can send them what I call your micro market report in video. It's a 19 touch campaign. And what it consists of, and this is the common denominator for everything, guys, is that 4 touches, a quarterly phone call. So once a quarter, every 3 months, you're making a phone call. And that phone call could be, whatever. There's a script. There's a script for that. I'm not going to go too deep into the script. We have plenty of scripts. My go-to script is universal. Hi, Mr. Jones. Yes. Hi, Mr. Jones. This is Brett with Keller Williams. How are you? I'm doing good, Brett. How are you? I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Hey, Mr. Jones, the reason I'm calling is, and then I tell him, it's been 3 months since I last spoke with you. When we last spoke, you said this, that, and the other. And I wanted to see, I've been still working in the market area. I'm still working with a ton of buyers in the market. And I was wondering, have you come across anyone that might be looking to sell their home that's not already in the market? No, Brett, I haven't. Okay, well, thank you for thinking about that. What about you? Have you given any thought to taking advantage of this hot market? It's bound to change sooner or later. Have you given any more thought to outselling it? Nope, I'm here until I die. Great. Well, I hope that's not very soon. But if in fact you do die pretty soon, please make sure that your family and your estate has my phone number so I can help them get rid of your property after your death. Okay, so I wouldn't say that. But 4 quarterly calls, okay, once a quarter. 12 touches. So again, we have 12 months. We have a holiday in every single month except August. So there's 11. But you can come up with a monthly email newsletter, a market report, a video. I would say do a combination of all of this. Now, we know that video is 50 times more likely to actually appear on a Google search. But just make sure that whatever content you do is relevant to your database, relevant to the area, relevant to your chosen profession. There's a saying that if you write a book, you're the expert. Now, remember, when I first started talking about this, we all know people who you wonder how they wake up and tie their shoes. But if they write a book, doesn't matter how grammatically incorrect it is or how great the content is. If you write a book on a subject, you are perceived as an expert. So I would also say that if you do a lot of content in an email, newsletter, do a market report in a certain area, and if you do that all in video, you are also going to be the perceived expert. Plus, you're going to generate leads. If you write a book, you're not going to get leads. You do a lot of videos on YouTube, ultimately, you're going to have that algorithm help you, and you're going to generate leads if you have the right technology to set it up to feed your database. See, it's all connecting. Number 1 is a single touch each year, an annual event, party, movie screening, get together. A lot of agents will, not a lot, but agents that I know each year they rent out during the summer a movie theater. Now that's not going to work. Probably that definitely didn't work this year. Probably not going to work next year. But what you could do is maybe get one of those, pop-up drive-in theaters and just do an event and invite people. Invite people to an annual neighborhood event. I know people who actually coordinate a garage sale weekend, right? So the whole community, you're the organizer. You get everybody on board and say, hey, I'm putting this marketing in, and we're going to have this one big garage sale. All you have to do is just participate. Let me know so I can put together a map and we can, make sure that you're on the map. But just an annual event. So that's for your leads. Now the goal for leads is to turn them into contacts. Now contacts connected by permission or because you know them. Now, if you know them, that just means that contact is implied. It's okay. They are interactive and value-based. And where we had a lead, which is a 19-touch campaign, we are now going to go to a 36-touch campaign. The nice thing is that if you have a lead campaign, all you have to do is add a little bit more onto this. So everyone who's a contact will still get this, but then they also get a little bit more. All right, so you still get your 4 touches once a quarter, so that doesn't change. So everyone in your database gets 1 call a quarter. But instead of 12 touches, you're more than 2x in that to 26 touches, and it's really bi-weekly. And this is where it ties into, well, you have multiple difference of content. Let's just say that for your leads campaign, you just make sure that on the first of each month or the 5th of each month, you send out a monthly email newsletter. And then every other week, you put something different in for your contacts. You're doing 2 touches for events, same thing. Events, get-together parties. And then you're doing 4 touches, promotional direct mail, maybe a magnet, calendar, market report. Now these are contacts, right? These are not your leads. If you start doing this type of a plan with people who are leads, you're going to run out of money really fast. That 1-to-10 ratio isn't going to hold true, right? These are your high level contacts that went through that's the all 3 levels of that millionaire. Here, let's go back to that. If I can find it real quick. Right here. Okay, your contacts have all 3 of these. Those are the ones that you're putting more time and effort and resources into because they're the ones who are going to be giving you the greatest return. And then after that, we're going to tend to it over time. So the best time to grow a tree is right now and 40 years ago. You need to start building if you're a veteran real estate or if you're new to the business, doesn't matter. You got to start building your database now because your database, as I've said it before, this is your long game. The more people you have in that, the more tight people that are that 3rd level of the millionaire database, you're going to convert 6% in that in direct business or referral business. Now, if you live in Southern California, or regardless of if you're catching this on the replay, doesn't really matter where you live, start timesing that by your average commission. And then and then find out how much money you want to make in this business on an annualized basis and just do the math. If you live in Southern California, Orange County, the average commission, say $20,000, you do 6 transactions, that's $120,000 a year, which means you need to have 100 type people in your database. If you want to do 2 times that amount, well, just put 2 times the amount of people in your database, right? Instead of have 100, have 200. And then that's actually going to do it. But the process is the same. And it's the consistency of doing it is what's going to build that for you guys. Number 2 is you have to regularly update and prune your database. Regularly update and prune your database. Having bad information in your database, having the wrong fit of people in your database, not a good thing. So I gave you guys that example of the guy said he's never going to sell. He's going to die in the house. Well, depending on how your relationship is with him, depending on whether or not if they are truly that 3rd level of the millionaire database, you might want to take them out of there. See, because my focus is people who own a home, they live in my market area, Ultimately, they want to sell it. I want to build relationships with them. And if I build a big enough database, then what's going to happen is that, that 10-year mark is going to start. You're going to have people who are going to be looking to move in every aspect within that time frame. Now, there's other ways that you can actually increase your frequency on that. So the average person moves every 10 years, but we also know that if you decide to really focus your database growth on people, say, that own a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, those actually have a quicker turn time. It's not 10 years, it's probably closer to 5. And typically the demographic of those people who have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath are going to be younger in age, earlier in life, on their journey through life. So your potential to actually have multiple transactions with them over time is greater. But you're starting with the first-time homebuyer market, and then you're just growing your business as they grow into that next demographic. But that's definitely now business. Okay, as we close things up, I want to talk to you guys about the activities needed to grow your business. And this is exactly what you need to do. You need to talk to 20 people a day. 10 people. Remember how we talked about in here that you got to talk to your people once a quarter? Well, you got to focus on adding 10 new people into your database each day. And you need to focus on having 10 conversations each day. So the way that I would break this up is 10 cold outreach, 10 calls to leads, have a conversation with 10 new people, and then have a conversation with 10 new people to put into your database. So you're having about 20. Writing 10 handwritten notes. So I came up in the default space of real estate, and traditional marketing. I don't know about you guys, but I check my mail probably about once a week. If that. Sometimes I walk in and that thing is just stacked full and I have a hard time getting everything out. I'm surprised I haven't gotten a hate message from the post office or from the post person. But the one thing that you could do as far as if I can give you guys some recommendation on handwritten notes, don't use the small cards. Use the 5x7 cards and make them look like a wedding invitation. Spend that extra money for that really nice envelope and really sturdy. So when they get that, it has a handwritten, not a pre-printed thing, not chicken scratch on the front, not a label, but actually really nice to where it's delivered. And I promise you that'll get opened. Now, interestingly, when I was going after default business, the way that I was able to increase my reach out is it's actually kind of brilliant now that I'm actually thinking about it, is they thought that they were getting like an invitation. They thought that they were getting something fancy or a thank you letter. And really what it was me notifying that, hey, your home came up on my list as a default and foreclosure started. You should give me a call and I can help you out. So it worked really well. But that's the same thing. There's no point in sending something if it's just going to get thrown away. There's no point in sending something. The whole point of this is to have an emotional reaction when they open it. So the more you put into it, the better off that you're going to do. And then previewing property. That's number 10. Got to tell you, this is the one thing that I think that everybody should do. Now, everybody should do everything on this list, but the people who always succeed at a high level are always the ones who are the best at doing what nobody else wants to do. And making contacts, making phone calls, not that easy, but it doesn't require you to go anywhere. But when you actually have to start getting out and actually traveling to somewhere, that's going to be a higher thing to do. And my recommendation is this could be tied into some of your touch plans. You can actually create a video on these homes that you previewed and tie those into your touch plans and send an email out so they can actually link out to that. And just like I said, that the person who is perceived as the expert, the one who wrote the book, if you do this, 10 homes a week is 2 homes a day. And so given that we only have a 2-month supply in Orange County, in any given area, that means that in a 2-month time, maybe 4 months time, if no new homes came onto the market, you've previewed every single home and you've created a video on it. it's all self-fulfilling, all your activities. All your activities are not just a one-off activity. They're different things that can help you guys do things, or not help you do things, but help you within your, you're getting more bang for your buck, so to speak. And then as far as the scripts that you guys need to know, why is scripts, having a script and learning how to internalize and practice them, is that you can lead generate with them. You need to know what to say. You need to know how to uncover motivations. You need to know how to identify objections. You need to know how to respond to the objections. You need to know how to close the deals. You don't want to just say, hey, what do you think? You don't want to spend all this time and effort and resources to generate a lead, to turn it into a contact, to nurture them, to build them all up, and then leave it with, okay, well, what do you think? Because they're going to say, well, I need to think about it. So you gotta know how to close the deals. You also have to be able to speak in terms of customers understand. Now, we use a lot of different lingo within real estate. We use the RPA. We talk about addendums. We use a lot of acronyms. The consumer has no idea what we're talking about. So you need to practice within your scripts on how to communicate with the consumer as if they haven't bought or sold a house in the last 10 years, because chances are they haven't. And by knowing what to say, it helps you build confidence. Now, this is part of that play where we start going into the other 3 hours of the practical application, and we go into script practice and role playing and such. But I'm not going to go into that, because I'm going to hope that you guys take this and start doing that on your own. We do have, if you're in Southern California, we do collectively get, even outside agents are invited to come to our telephone prospecting blitz every Tuesday from 9:30 to noon. So if you guys want to go to that, then reach out to me and we can make those arrangements. We always do some role playing from 9:30, or I always do some sort of training or Q&A from 9:30 to 10, or from 10 to noon. It's a good place. It's the hardest thing about, prospecting is a lot like going to the gym and working out. The hardest thing is just getting there. So, and the hardest thing is, if you get there alone, is working out on your own. Alone, that's really tough. So if you're doing it with other like-minded individuals who have, similar ambitions, similar, goals, then it just makes things that much easier. Okay, guys, so that's it for this training.